But if I'm Drew Allar and I have a pick in my first 10 throws and you only give me 5 more throws for the rest of the game, it's like that pick becomes way bigger because you don't let me redeem it. So that is really insightful, and I don't know if this video will get a ton of traction, but that deserves something. That definitely deserves something. That's really important from Landon right there.
Completely ruined everything that he had going on.
I was like on the fence if I was gonna record like a reaction video to James Franklin getting fired, but I guess because I was like very up on the James Franklin, like going ahead into the year, I was very high on James Franklin, and he showed me this year that he just doesn't have it, and obviously the boosters felt the same way. And this firing is going to lead to a little bit of frenzy because like this is like the first high-profile job that's come open this year. Now I know that UCLA came open, but Penn State's better than UCLA. I know there was rumors that Florida was going to come open, they haven't. So like Penn State's the current job, and a lot of people, myself included, like wondered would Penn State like be willing and able to kind of make the call to fire James Franklin, considering how much they owed him. And whenever a job like this opens up, you always get kind of like the wildness. Like I've already gotten like texts about potentially like Urban Meyer, and I got a call about Urban Meyer, which I think there's no chance that happens. There was like the rumor that kind of got squashed about like a booster that was like, I guess in charge, not a booster, about Adidas maybe paying the buyout, and then another Penn State guy, Landon Tengwall, came out and said that that's not true. I think right now, like, we're not really going to know how it went down for the next, like, probably 48 hours, and then we'll start to kind of hear some details. I was intending on doing a, how are Penn State fans, like, reacting to the loss. I guess that's going to pivot to how is Penn State media, I guess, reacting to James Franklin getting fired, and kind of what is being said and what is floated out there. And I think what it comes down to is that James Franklin ran into a case where this was him pushing all his chips to the center of the table. He had the coach that he needed. He had the receivers that he thought he needed. Obviously, like, he built this team. And at the end of the day, like, everything is going to fall at his feet if things don't go well. And what I mean by that is, like, it's like, oh, well, Penn State's not winning because they don't have the receivers. Well, it's like, you're the head coach and you're a receiver guy. Like, why don't you have the receivers? Oh, like, well, Drew Allar isn't successful because the offense isn't fit for Andy Kotelnicki. Well, who hired Andy Kotelnicki? And it just felt like all these mistakes where James Franklin thought he was getting ahead eventually ended up catching up to him. And you kind of feel for him sometimes because, like, he hired Jim Knowles and kind of told Jim Knowles, like, go do what you do. But Jim Knowles has repeatedly showed us that he's got no situational awareness, and he got beat by Northwestern on a long drive to end the game where he couldn't force a punt, essentially, and that's kind of what we'd seen from him all year. So James Franklin tried to learn from his mistakes. It just felt, honestly, too little too late, and at some point, someone's got to pay the price, and when you lose 2 games that are this horrendous, if I'm a booster, that's 3 straight losses. So if I'm a booster, I'm not going to allow you to have the chance to create or fix the mess that you just created. And then additionally, the mismanagement of Drew Allar, who I didn't realize it, but this was it for him. Like, there's no more years left unless that 5th year thing gets auto-passed. Like, he's out of eligibility. And this is going to end up being like one of the all-time kind of blunders for, a 5-star career. So James Franklin at Penn State, they've had like a history of like wasting a lot of talent. And I guess like the final James Franklin swan song was, let me waste the max amount of talent I can possibly waste, and then we'll see kind of what happens from there. So I do want to react and kind of listen to some of the other guys who are talking about Penn State just for a little bit, just a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, and kind of get their initial reactions if they think he deserved it, which I think everybody did at this point. But more want to gauge how surprised they are and kind of what names pop up. Because me personally, I don't think it's going to be Matt Rule. I think it's another Matt. I think Matt Campbell makes a lot of sense there. I mean, he's been able to recruit to an area like Iowa State that is not very like talent rich in that area, kind of more also difficult to get to, and they don't have the resources. I think honestly, if you drop off the Iowa State program and inject it with a bigger job and a chance to recruit more high profile athletes, you could end up running into a pretty good program moving forward, and a program that doesn't feel like it's a glass cannon, which is kind of how James Franklin's program felt to me as of late. Now, I don't think it'll be Matt Rule. Like, I think Matt Rule has got the investment he wants at Nebraska, and honestly, like, if you're Penn State, like, you are a bigger job than that job, so you deserve more. Ron and I had a talk earlier on the phone about maybe Signetti getting that job, and like, for Signetti, what he's building at Indiana is really special. And I don't know what the ceiling is on that because like I thought there was a ceiling on Indiana. He's kind of shattered through it. I do think he's the most dangerous coach that kind of comes to mind going to Penn State because he would be like, I compared it with me and Tyler's show. It would be like, James Franklin is Mark Richt and, Signetti is like Kirby Smart in terms of like a bump up and like take this program, kick it to the next gear. You do wonder when a coach gets fired, kind of how quickly am I going to be able to rebuild this? Or am I going to need like a portal overhaul? How many kids are going to leave? Does Fran Brown get a call? That's another name on the list because a coach that I really believe in. But, we're kind of just in really unique territory with how this thing goes. And I think I just wanted to get a video out there before Monday. And obviously me and Zach are going to talk about it. But it's definitely really unique, man. Penn State put hundreds of millions of dollars into the stadium this year, and they were supposed to win, and they didn't. And they let Drew down. They let me down. And those kids deserve better because it clearly wasn't a talent issue. It was a coaching issue. But without further ado, I'm going to link the videos that I watch in the description. So if you're kind of into this kind of thing, like keep commenting. Let me know who you want to see next. Let me know if there's a college football channel that you want me to react to, and I'll go react to it. But here, my guy Landon Tengwall, go sub to his channel. He does a really great job over there. Honestly, like for the best, what I believe is the best Penn State coverage is what he has. So he dropped this video 5 hours ago. I tweeted at him, but he has probably been pretty busy today. So he did not see it. But I want to throw this up, make sure the sound is all right. All right.
Penn State back-to-back losses where they are more than 20-point favorites. It is a dark time in State College at the moment. I'm obviously not going to lie to you guys. There's a reason why you come to my videos because you're going to get the truth, so I plan on giving you only that. And that's where I want to start off with James Franklin. He has done so much for this program. He helped pull Penn State.
This has got to be tough for Landon because Landon played for James. Like Landon was at Penn State. He was an offensive lineman, a good player, like obviously like really connected with the program. It wasn't there like that. Like he was there like not that long ago. So for him, his reaction is going to be one where he's got to try to, keep it like rooted in reality while also letting himself feel emotions and kind of convey like where he's at. Cause this, like firing a head coach that's gone 10-2 for a bunch of years, like that's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. And then the other hard part about it is like, we've seen all these transfers, go to the other side where the grass isn't always greener. And like, what if you're Penn State? What if you're making a huge mess? If you're Landon, do you want to go on there and celebrate this is the right move? And then the very real possibility of going 8-4 next year arises, which they won't go 8-4 because their schedule is really weak. And I'll dive into that in a little bit. But do you want to go like to that level? Do you want to go to that limit and then risk kind of the blowback? Because people will take this and hold on. People that are James Franklin's truthers will sink their teeth in and hold on. Now, I'm not sure how many James Franklin truthers there are left, but they did it, man. And this has to be, first time in the 12-team era. Like they were a Final Four team a year ago. Crazy, man. It's like, and the other part of it is, does the question arise, does Penn State hold their job and their expectations higher than Mike Norvell? Because Mike Norvell a year ago at Florida State like went through something that I would argue is worse than what James Franklin went through. And he was able to keep his job based on the strength of having a successful season the year before. He didn't get the grace of 1 year having a bad year and then getting turned around. And does James Franklin kind of get blamed because unlike Mike Norvell, James Franklin like returned Drew Allar in them. So I don't know. We'll just watch.
Stayed out of some very, very dark times and build back quicker than most programs could have ever hoped after what Penn State went through in 2011. So the fact he recruited me, the fact that he continued to pay for my schooling when I had to retire from football, I am forever grateful for. But right now, none of that has to do with the situation at hand. It is evident to me and obviously everybody else that it is time that James Franklin and Penn State part ways. There's really no other way to put it. He has lost the majority of this Penn State locker room. And frankly, I think James Franklin is lost. He looks lost. He looks desolate. He looks like the life has been taken out of him. It looks like he doesn't want to be here anymore. And that's not only just in a presser, but that's on the sideline. You don't see any fire out of him. He is a shell of himself currently. I think it's fair that he quit on the team. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. That's what it looks like. That's what it sounds like. I mean, I think it's a fair statement to say. There's nothing left there. There's nothing left in the tank. James was asked if he still wanted to be the head coach of Penn State University after the game, and he kind of said it's about the players. The fans are great. I understand the frustration. And, he said, I'm committed to the players in that locker room. There was no answer. He could have easily said, yes, there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
That is a horrible answer from James Franklin. I didn't watch the presser, but this makes it seem like James Franklin kind of already knew. And sometimes coaches do this. Like sometimes, and they'll never admit it, but sometimes coaches do the thing where they will, when things start to get rocky, they'll start to float around and like peek their head around for like other jobs. Like Ryan Day's done it. Like guys do that. So
Then being the head coach of Penn State football, of course, I love it here. He didn't say any of that because he doesn't feel that. And we all know that. Like, this has been coming to a head. Like, let's be honest here. This has been something that has been brewing, and now it just... And the crappy part is the way that it happened. Not a single soul in the world expected it to happen this way, where you come into a season with the expectations that you had. I mean, I'm sure Franklin, players, staff, everybody is sitting there last night, this morning, just staring at the wall thinking, I don't know how this happened. How the hell did we get to where we are sitting right now? Because I'm in utter disbelief, and I'm sure a lot of other people are. To take you back, the number 2 team in America, you have what you think is the best coaching staff in college football. It was very clearly before the season started, the best coordinator combo in all of college football. An elite offensive line, 2 elite running backs.
It's funny because he says that like very clearly the best like coordinator combo in college football. And me and him, the way we connected was before the year. I saw him tweet that like he would give Penn State the coaching advantage over Ohio State, and like I wanted to debate him, but I wanted that to be a debate when Penn State played Ohio State, kind of when we linked back up for the game. But kind of the concern, or not the concern. So I wanted to debate him about that because I want to bring back like debate culture in college sports and in the college sports scene, but like proper debate culture, not like ESPN like hot take bullshit. Like I want like actual like debate culture. And so I was looking forward to like having a debate with him about that topic, but I wanted to do it the week of the Ohio State Penn State game because I assumed that both teams would be at their very worst 1-loss teams, like one being to Texas, one being to Oregon. So we kind of put it off, and like now, like it's not even, can't even have the debate. Like Ohio State very clearly has like the best coaching staff in America and like the best combination of whatever, and like we won't even get there because by the time we get there, who knows what Jim Knowles and Andy Kotelnicki will be and what they'll be doing, because quite clearly like they're not the best. They're paid like the best.
Quarterback that is a Heisman candidate. Obviously not numbers-wise, but that was the thought process. Unsure about the wide receiver room, but it was still an upgrade. On defense, he got Zane Durant and Dennis Sutton, Zakee Wheatley, Tony Rojas, all of that. It was natty or bust, and I don't know where it went wrong. I think it's clear from the beginning on there was a lack of leadership on this squad in the locker room, but also from the coaching staff. That is where it starts. It's top down, and it feels like a lot of fans, they have the feeling they were sold a bag of goods, that this is what it was going to be this year. And it's been one of the most disappointing seasons in Penn State football history. It's hard. It's hard to know where to go from here. But as I said, there's no excuse, and I am embarrassed for this program, for the guys in the locker room. I'm embarrassed for James Franklin, because that is how you're going to be remembered. And like I said, I put all that great stuff out there to start because it's sad. And some guys have said this, that it's sad that Franklin's never going to be able to come back here and enjoy a beer downtown, and people are not going to like him for how this ends.
Yeah, that's really real. He's not going to get the luxury of like going downtown and like having a beer. He's not going to get that at all. Woof. Just a disaster, man. Like I can't think of a more like broken go.
And I don't think it it helps the way that there's always been kind of recently some animosity between fans and Franklin, and he hears it. He's here. The Fire Franklin chants have been around for a little while now, and I think it's all now just coming to a head, and we all need to realize it is just best if we move on. Now I don't know money wise what that looks like. He is owed $56 million. I don't know if you can negotiate down and say, hey, just take $20 million and go on your way, but something needs to be done, because this is not going to continue to be productive if James Franklin is the head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions. Let's talk about the game. The players, obviously it's on them to execute, but I don't think they are being put in winning situations.
So the thing says breaking James Franklin fired. It doesn't sound like he knows that he got fired. Did he get fired after the episode or in the middle of it? It's almost a stance like he knew he was going to get fired, but didn't know if it was official when he recorded
Situations.
this.
3rd and 10 for this Penn State offense, and you run a QB draw with Drew Allar. Wave the white flag. That is disgraceful. I don't know if it was James Franklin calling plays. I don't know if it was Andy Kotelnicki calling plays.
I mean, in the defense of that play call, like they kind of did that in the Oregon game, and it worked. Like on the 3rd and 9, they ran a quarterback draw, and Drew got it. And I think that is like when you see one of your bad shooters make a 3, and then it's like, oh, he can shoot 3s now. And then you let him keep chucking it, and then it like destroys the team because of it. I said it, man. They called the game plan like they had. They called games like they had Bo Prabula there.
Plays, but you should be ashamed of yourself. That is. You got man coverage against Northwestern. Yeah, Northwestern, really known for their great DBs, and you can't do some type of rub route, some type of slants, something to put them in a quarterback draw? Disgusting. Beginning of the game, Kaytron Allen chugging away, was taking it to that Northwestern defense, sitting at close to 7 yards per carry after that first touchdown drive where he punched it in on that big old hole. Offense was humming with him carrying the football. You come out the very next series, Kaytron's on the sideline, and you run a fake pitch to Nick Singleton, end around to Devontae Ross that's tackled for a 2-yard loss. And you sit in 2nd and 12, and then James Franklin gets up there and says, we got to get better on 3rd down. And it's mainly because 1st and 2nd down aren't good. Well, maybe if you would have kept Kaytron in the game and just ran the ball instead of running some dumb, I want to say a curse word at this point, some dumb stuff.
I got you, Lana. Hold up. Some dumbass shit.
I mean, talking about dumb stuff, double pass to Liam Clifford. You've done it, James. You've done it, man. Wow. I mean, you've cracked the code. Holy cow.
Dude, he's gone from like a form of reverence and almost sorry for James, and now he's like reliving all the mistakes against Northwestern, and it's just pissing him off. Like I just watched like the full scope of emotion. It went from like, yeah, like, like wishing the best. It's sad that he's not gonna be able to go back and get a beer. And then he started to remember all the shit that James did in this game, just this game. Whew. Do not envy.
On the goal line, that first interception. You're on the 10-yard line. Kaytron Allen is chugging away, and you decide to run 4 verts. That's all 4 guys just run straight up the field. And then Liam Clifford basically quits on the route. He's either supposed to win over the top or convert it into a comeback. He does neither, and then Drew still throws it to him, and there's a pick. I mean, first off, why are we targeting Liam Clifford in the red zone when we have Kaytron Allen as a running back? And why is that the play call in the first place? And why is Drew Allar throwing it? There's blame to go to everybody. Trust and believe there is. Oh, man. After, I was talking about that drive after Kaytron Allen, and they come out with the Devontae Ross end around that goes for -2 yards. The next 7 carries, all for Nick Singleton. 2.8 yards per carry. How do you do that as an offense that you have a guy that is just killing a defense on the ground, and you say, we're going to take him out for 2 different series, one of them on which you go 3 and out, and you get lucky because they muff the punt and you get it back.
Yeah, he's fired him in his head by this point. He's pissed, and I don't blame him. I mean, like obviously, like he is a Big Ten show, similar to like Minnesota Sports, but obviously like very like Penn State leaning, the same way we lean towards Ohio State. When you get into this business, like you have like a vested interest in like the success of your team, because like the better your team does, naturally over time, like the better ratings you do and the better numbers you have, and that equals more money. And so like feeling like you can coach better than the coach that's on the field out there, and also like you should be the powerhouse and you should be the podcast, the voice of the powerhouse. It's like, damn, like what did I miss?
Back. But you go 3 and out right after Kaytron Allen is killing these dudes, and you take him off the field, and Kyron Hudson has a ridiculous drop that hits him in the hands. That was the main reason why he was here. He wasn't a great route runner. He wasn't, he's 6'2", plays with a bigger body, doesn't have speed, but he had the 2.7% career drop rate. I think he's had like 5 to 6 drops this year. It's like people come here and it just goes downhill. Watching the tape, there's way too many shifts with the offensive line and tight ends, meaning that they'll have like a normal setup, and then they'll bring the right tackle, the right guard, the tight end, put them all on the left side, and as soon as they get there, it's ready, go. And there's no time to communicate. There's no time to settle. That's what bad teams do. That's what Big 12 teams do. Why are we Penn?
That's what Big 12 teams do. Where's your coordinators from? Both of them. Both coordinators are Big 12 coordinators. Like that's the line, right? Like this is what Big 12 teams do. Jim Knowles, Andy Kotelnicki. Riverboat Gambler and a Gimmick. Both Big 12 guys.
State football resort what bad teams do. That's what Big 12 teams do. Why are we, Penn State football, resorting to gimmicky plays? Why do we need to do that against Northwestern University? A lack of confidence is the reason why. And I think that you can take that back to a lot of different a lot of different places. But the fact that you are resorting to that against Northwestern tells me everything I need to know about how you feel about your team as Franklin, as Kotonicki, as everybody. We're gonna get the Knowles in a second. Kotonicki and Franklin, like I said, they failed this offense. The final play where Grunk is in. First off, full stop. I know it's 4th and 3. Give the ball to Katron Allen. I'm gonna sound like a broken record saying that, but you have someone coming in the
Spoken like a true O-lineman.
bench ice cold, and you're going to ask him to throw the football? Katron Allen always falls forward. It does not go down with the first contact, as the first guy cannot take him down. Spread them out and just give Katron the ball. That was your best opportunity. But you pass the ball, and we'll show this on the film breakdown. You pass the ball, and you have no conflict routes. You know you're getting man-to-man coverage, and there's no like rubs. There's no anything. There's no mesh. It was just like 2 in routes and like a curl route over here and a flat route over here. And it was clamped up. And then Ethan Grunkmeyer gets absolutely leveled on his only and first play of the game. And that's what he gets welcomed into. I think that's a great representation of what Ethan Grunkmeyer is honestly going to get the rest of the season if this is the same coaching staff. That play is a representation of how the coaching and the position that he is going to be put in to succeed. Not a good one. I'll tell you that. People ask, hey, why didn't they punt there? You got 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. You basically got 4 timeouts. Punt it away and stop the Northwestern offense. Well, that's the exact reason why they didn't. There was zero confidence that the defense could get off the field against the Northwestern Wildcats offense. I mean, they couldn't get.
It's like when you get peak mad, and only thing you can do is laugh, man. He's fun. Look, he's about it, man. Like he's about it. It's funny because like the UCLA post game was like more relaxed. And more like all I can do is laugh. Like this is like anger and like anger that I'm sure that he feels like a coach that he like believed in for this year kind of let him down, and I don't fucking blame him, dude.
One stop against that offense, utterly sickening. Jim Knowles has lost this defense. They are clueless. This defense is too complex. It asks way too much of everybody.
Ohio State fans feel and hear that. Sometimes it just gets too much. Like sometimes there's like too much gambling that goes on. Sometimes it's just too confusing instead of just playing straight up. And it's like he does a thing where it's like, because he never had elite talent at Oklahoma State, he almost doesn't know how to use elite talent. I mean, when he got to Ohio State, it was all this complex stuff, but he had no clue how to use Sonny Styles. Just didn't know. So they ask kids to like do so much complex stuff instead of letting kids be the freak athletes they are and play fast, because that outweighs it.
I don't know, Ohio State fans, if you're listening, you were right. Congratulations. That pains me to say.
It's talking to DG.
But yeah, the defense is too complex. It is too complicated. The guys can't grasp it, and I don't understand why it needs to be that way. It's not that hard to adjust. Northwestern went after Dom DeLuca in the run game. He struggled mightily. He was Knowles, the defensive tackles and the DNs, did a fairly good job, but they struggled getting off the blocks in the run game. They could not get off the blocks. And so what Knowles started to do was play man-to-man coverage, kind of crowd the box a little bit, and started plugging the linebackers away. And they were picking it up. Dom DeLuca got pancaked a couple times. Amari Campbell had a couple plays, but even he was struggling with block destruction, block shedding, same thing. So because they were doing all that, we played a ton of man-to-man coverage because we're trying to stop the run. And then number 17, their wide receiver, Wilde, was absolutely shredding Penn State's secondary. I want to say, a white wide receiver. Yes, it was a white wide receiver that was doing it. Just putting it out there.
Dude, I'm glad someone else does that, because I feel like whenever I do it, like I'm an asshole. And like now Landon is like real, like football player, like really analyst, like knows ball. I know ball too, but mine is more of like an observation of ball instead of like really digging into the weeds. And I've learned a ton with the coach's film room. Shout out Zach, go get the coach's film room. But for me, it's like I also like try to bring like a comedic element to some of the things I do, because like at the end of the day, like I fell in love with football because it was fun to talk about football with my friends. I didn't fall in love with football because I was trying to make a living out of it. So I think that's kind of one of my like sub approaches that I think sets me apart. Maybe nothing sets me apart. Maybe I'm regular degular. Who knows?
AJ Harris gave up that touchdown where he got burnt.
I tried to push real hard to get AJ Harris in Columbus. Didn't work. Ended up at Georgia, then Penn State.
By Wilde. And was not seen again. I don't know. There was no injury report. There was no ask of it, so we don't have a for certain. Either he kind of seems like he took himself out of the game or Terry Smith took him out of the game. It was one or the other, but no matter what the outcome and the reason of that happening, not good. Not good at all. That is what I mean where I say this locker room is lost. It is in a bad place. It is in disarray. Someone needs to figure it out quickly because I feel for these guys. There's a lot of guys that came back for one more go-round, last dance, 98 Bulls, if you will. And I mean, outside of maybe Katron Allen, I don't know there's a single person that draft stock didn't go down. I'm not even talking about staying the same. Didn't go down. And that starts to get back because now you start getting guys in there thinking, oh, I'm thinking about me. I need to think about myself. I got to worry about my draft stock because, good grief, this team isn't doing me any favors. So that's where the finger pointing starts coming in. You got to be very careful.
I mean, the biggest loser in all this is Drew Allar. And so we're going to see how in the world this team stays together. I have no clue.
Now, let's talk quarterback. Drew Allar. They failed you. I am incredibly sorry, brother. From the beginning, your development was ruined. I don't think it was ever handled correctly. Never had the weapons you needed, never had the offensive coordinator you needed. But mainly, I feel like he was always, I've said this, he wasn't, I mean, once again, you bring Andy Kotelnicki in and you're running a option, RPO offense that requires quick feet and moving. And that's not Drew Allar. That doesn't put him in a position to succeed. Put that to the side. You got James Franklin and everything that he's told us. And obviously I was on the team with Drew Allar and James. I saw it. Everything is don't mess up. Don't make a mistake. Leave the ball short if it's not perfect. Once again, I say this. Why not tell him to go out there and put a perfect ball on a wide receiver? Why not go out there and say, you're that dude. You don't need to worry about anything else. You're gonna be perfect. The positive talk was not there enough for Drew Allar. And frankly, I think that's part of the reason why quarterbacks have struggled under James Franklin. He really has struggled. I mean, Christian Hackenberg, look how that worked out. Brought John Donovan in with him.
That is really, really insightful. I don't really want to dig into it too much, but I want to talk about Coach Kerr, who's out there at Corner Canyon in Utah. He had a group of guys, Jackson Dart, Zach Wilson, Devin Brown, Isaac Wilson, all gunslingers, all, I'm okay with 2 picks a game. Just go give me 6 touchdowns. Like, I don't care. Like, just go out there and ultimate confidence. And I think when you do I've talked to coaches about it and 2 sports psychologists about it. When you do the don't mess up thing, I think that in turn creates more thinking for quarterbacks. When you think too much, you overthink and end up playing poorly. And Drew Allar did look like a kid, honestly, that was thinking way too much, thinking way, way too much. And it's like, the line, if you're not sure about it, maybe leave it short, take something off of it. Shit, is that what happened at Oregon? He took something off of it and then all of a sudden had the interception to end the game. Is that why the deep ball's not worked? Like, if it's not there, take something off of it. That is horrible messaging. And it's so much different than the messaging that Curt Signetti, for example, has had with Mendoza. I mean, after the game, he said they caught him smiling and tapping Mendoza on the shoulder after he threw the pick 6 that tied the game in a very, very tight game. Honestly, what almost would have cost him the game. Tapped him on the shoulder, said, "Are you having fun?" And I've heard Jason Williams talk about it on the Flagrant 2 podcast about being able to play free and play and have fun is when I'm my very best. Being able to play free and being super confident is when I'm my very best. And it sounds like James Franklin did not allow Drew Allar to do that. And here's the thing, if you're Drew Allar, I feel for you and I feel for the commitment, but at some point you got to get out of there, right? Because playing free is the most important thing. Like every Kalen DeBoer quarterback, it's not about don't make mistakes. It's about going out there and doing it. And that's how you're able to lead the league in passing yards. When you have someone with that player profile, being a gunslinger has to be important. Like Matt Stafford threw a ton of interceptions. Eli Manning, ton of interceptions. Brett Favre, ton of interceptions. But the confidence to be able to go look back at them and be like, hey, go throw some more. And when guys get in rhythm, Drew Allar wasn't going to throw them out of the game. But when you limit the amount of attempts Drew Allar has and limit the amount of shots that Drew Allar is going to able to take, willing to take, or that you're willing to take with Drew Allar, you're also then maximizing the turnovers. If you're Drew Allar and you throw a pick, but you have 40, passing attempts, it's like, oh, okay. I threw that pick, but I was spraying the ball over the yard and it was helping. But if I'm Drew Allar and I have a pick in my first 10 throws and you only give me 5 more throws for the rest of the game, it's like that pick becomes way bigger because you don't let me redeem it. So that is really insightful. And I don't know if this video will get a ton of traction, but that deserves That deserves something. That definitely deserves something. That's really important from Landon right there.
Completely ruined everything that he had going on. I mean, it's like I said, I think this is all fair to say. I'm not coming out here just taking shots on James just to take them, but I feel like this is all fair. I mean, he has really messed up some situations here, and I feel for the guys. I can't believe that's how it ended for Drew Allar. You would have told me before the season that you back-to-back loss against UCLA and Northwestern, and he's carted off the field, and that's going to be his last moment. That's how you're remembered. I mean, that's tough to even want to come back here. Like I can't even fathom that. I did think it was weird how quickly James, no matter what the injury is, how in the post-game presser he said, "Yeah, Drew's done for the year." As much as like it might have been very clear to the medical staff, like, "Oh yeah, this is going to take a while. Like he's done." I've never heard James be that swift. He would either say long-term injury, like he did with Tony Rojas. Like he never said like Tony Rojas is out for the year, even though all of us knew. It's just a weird situation with that. I don't know why he did that. I'm curious. I'm sure maybe we'll have some light shed on that in the future, but I thought that was kind of weird. Ethan Grunkmeyer, first start. Kinnick at Iowa, 7 p.m. About as worst of an ideal start as you can get. He is not even just the situation, because we remember last time a backup quarterback was in Kinnick. I know. I'm like the master of bringing up bad moments. I'm sorry, guys. He's coming into an offense that is just complete, like, it's like they're shell-shocked right now because it's like, what happened? And so I feel for him because he's coming into an offense that no one's playing for each other. It's very few people have that fire in them right now. And so that's the offense. Like, that's the situation you're coming into if you're Ethan Grunkmeyer. That's not a good start for him. So I feel like, once again, guys being put in bad situations. That sucks that that's his start, because if he does bad, Penn State's obviously not.
Grunk needs to get some good tape out there and get the fuck up out of there.
Not going to continue, run with him next year, and then he gets shipped off, and who knows his trajectory. Like, all of this is just bad, man. And if I feel for the guys, and once again, it's so crazy because where we were sitting just 15 days ago leading up to Oregon, and it's like, hey, it still might be the year, even though a lot of us knew because of what happened earlier on. And yeah, I mean, look at the first 3 games. Once again, Ethan Grunkmeyer put in a bad situation because he should have had 4 quarters of football under his belt from those first 3 games. You should be able to get about 4 quarters out of playing Villanova and FIU. But he barely got any meaningful snaps because we couldn't put anybody away, because we're not a serious team. This is unserious football, and it's on James Franklin. Bowl eligibility, I know that's kind of the last thing people care about. Most people are probably wishing that just doesn't happen. I don't know where you find 3 more wins. You go at Iowa, at Ohio State, Indiana at home, at Michigan State, Nebraska at home, who only has 1 loss currently, Matt Rule, and then at Rutgers. That's tough. I don't know if I see Penn State in a bowl game, especially when you lose the 2 worst Big Ten teams on your schedule. You lose to them, and I don't really know how you can look at the rest of the games and feel good about that.
Penn State not making a bowl game is so fried. That'd be so insane. It doesn't sound like... Man, I do want to give one more video a watch. Go follow and sub to Landon. He does a really good job, dude. He's so good. Are these Bowman? Yeah, dude, they are.
If you want to do something, you can legitimately load up Instagram, Google, TikTok, and someone will show you for free how to do something. I'm like, man, I want a clothing brand. I get on TikTok, like, how you start a clothing brand? 2 weeks later, I'm bringing in samples. I'm like, what do you guys think?
Information era. I like that setup a lot. Oh, man. Can't believe it, man. James Franklin. I do want to watch one more.
Welcome into the Landon.
Who do we like?
Just when you thought all the news was happening yesterday and the craziness of the games, and we've talked about the coaching carousel, James Franklin has been fired as the head coach of Penn State after another loss when he was a 20-point favorite. David Cohn, look, you played at Michigan. You obviously...
Hey, this setup is fried. They got the little boxes for them. Everybody's camera has like a coat of dust over it. They crack me up.
The Big Ten like the back.
This is a huge channel, 186,000 subs, man. Can y'all tighten up? Shot these on some Nokias.
Back of your hand. Number one,
and why can't we have 3 equal-sized boxes?
Shocking is this to you? And number 2, I don't think they would have.
And all 3 of the mics better be plugged in.
of fired him without having somebody in mind? And is that somebody in mind? I haven't seen there be an interim named. Is it Jim Knowles?
Well, to answer your first question, I am shocked. I mean, we're only 2 weeks removed from him taking the number 6 team to overtime. I understand these are two.
Hey, dude, I can't stand this dude. He is so terrible and tried to little bro me earlier because he does shitty work and doesn't do his homework. And I just want to put that out there. But I am going to like the video because I am watching their video. But I cannot stand him. Does a bad job, bad faith arguments. And he does the thing that I hate the most about baseball media is he tries to be a troll sometimes and then an analyst other times. And when those lines gets blurred, he like gaslights you. So does a bad job, but I will say I made him delete a tweet earlier this year because he was being lazy. And my least favorite thing is when like people who ask you to like watch their content do intentionally lazy stuff just for like $1 or $2. And I feel like he does that a little bit. So not a big fan. Think he does a bad job and think that honestly, like if he cared enough about football and watched football and did his homework, especially on a network like the Daily Wire, that he should be as good as at his job as Jake Butt is at his job, and it's like night and day, not even close.
Bad losses back to back, but to fire the guy, I don't know. I mean, we're 7 weeks in, and this was my national championship pick, so I'm dealing with some things personally and internally right now. But no, I did think that James Franklin could get over the hump this year with this roster. Now, was Drew Allar the type of quarterback who was going to be able to go forward and win the national?
If he blamed this on Drew Allar without identifying the clear issues Penn State had development-wise, I'm turning it off.
Championship, that was a huge debate, but I thought James Franklin could get over that hump the same way Ryan Day did a year ago, the same way that Kirby Smart did, and now
Mistake 2, comparing. Nobody in their right mind was going to compare James Franklin to those two because those two were hyper competitive in big games, and those two didn't lose the games they weren't supposed to. Like those two didn't do the James Franklining, the Clemsoning. So if you're going to compare him to like a big time coach, probably Dabo Swinney, but it's not right to compare him to those other two because the other two make sure that their roster is talented in every single spot individually. I think that's what matters.
We sit here at one.
And also, those two didn't have like atrocious coaching blunders late in games for over a decade. And also, those two additionally don't crash out at fans at games. Bad comp. Lazy comp, dude. Lazy. Compare him to Sark. Compare him to Dabo. Not Ryan or Kirby. Those are the two best in the sport.
1 o'clock Central Time, boys, 7 weeks into the 2025 season, and he's no longer the head coach. I'm shocked.
I'm surprised too, but I want to say this, Blaine. Good on Penn State. You want to know why? Because good ain't damn good enough. So good on them. James Franklin's won a lot of games that he's supposed to. Couldn't get over the hump. We've mentioned that a million times. And Blaine, one of the things we talk about this offseason is that
I do watch all these in 1.25 speed. So for those who think they're talking fast, that's them. I mean, I talk fast, so I feel like I listen fast, but that's not, yeah.
Things seem to be aligning for Penn State. You had a ton of turnover, right, at Ohio State, right, at Oregon, losing their quarterback, losing some of their most important pieces. You thought the schedule was pretty favorable, and you returned Drew Allar. You returned that two-headed monster at running back. I thought they did a good job.
Is Penn State a better job than Auburn? And is the expectation of Penn State better than Auburn? Find out next episode on Chris Sneak Disses.
In the transfer portal as well, getting some wide receivers in that could do some things. But good on Penn State. And I tell you what, if I'm Hugh Freeze right now, if I'm Luke Fickell right now, if I can go down the list, Billy Napier, to me, this sets a huge precedent of we think we're about it, and we're going to act like we're about it, regardless of who is here. Good on Penn State. Do you like the move? Who do you think they hire?
Well, yeah, I like the move because at the end of the day, I mean,
his mic cannot be plugged in.
let's really go through what James Franklin has done at Penn State. He's 1-15 versus AP top 5 opponents. You're 4-20 against top 10 opponents, and you're 12-25 against top 25 opponents at Penn State. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
It's not good enough, right? And for the talent that they have on the roster, the championship aspirations they have as a program, it's not good enough. But then it comes down to the question: if you fire the guy, do you already know who your next guy is? Because I don't think it's Jim Knowles. Because if anything, the defense has regressed at Penn State since he's been there.
Well, I was just saying interim. I was
yeah, for sure. But do you know? Because look, at the end of the day, James Franklin won a lot of football games at Penn State.
Yeah,
won a lot of football games at Penn State, and we've seen this not only through the transfer portal but through coaching.
You know what sucks about college football media? These three all just like regurgitate what you're going to hear all over the place for the next like 48 hours. Landon at least was like insightful enough to like give you something and like give an observation and like give a note and talk about the ups and downs of the blunders. These three talk about Penn State like they don't really watch them, and it's like just like the cookie cutter, Like when I go to Thanksgiving and people that don't really watch the sport super intently talk about, oh yeah, they fired their coach. You know, he wasn't winning that many games. Like this is such surface level shit for like a big pod.
Coaching hires, the grass is not always greener on the other side than what you think it is. So does the administration, does the
That's the same shit I said. So maybe I'm the problem too. Maybe I'm just like the rest of college football media.
AD already have somebody in mind? And if they do, why is he coaching at Indiana?
I was about to say that, but I want to make 2 quick points. But before we get into that, we've got our.
They should have just stayed with this layout. The other stuff is like distracting to me.
AP poll breakdown today, something that we haven't done yet on Sundays. We're also going to have a little bit of a recap after that. Make sure you check out all of our instant reactions as well. It just reminded me before we got on here, I told you guys, because we literally just saw it before this thing popped up and we got on here. It reminded me of the scene from Inglourious Bastards when they got the.
Let's look at something actually. This is the top 10. Matt Rule, Sig, Matt Campbell, Terry Smith. Huh. Manny Diaz, that'd be funny. Brent Key, don't even think about it. Kenny Dillingham. I'll tweet that. One second, I want to tweet that. Kenny Dillingham. Would Penn State fans be mad at Kenny Dillingham? Memphis, Auburn, Florida State, Oregon, OC, each of the 4 schools. Offense wouldn't be a problem. Yeah, you know, who knows?
German generals on his knees, and they got the 2 prisoners, and they look at one of them when the guy comes out with the bat. And I'm talking about if you're a coach that's on the hot seat, and the guy looks at him and goes, "I'd be shitting my pants right now if I was you." That's how I feel like all those coaches should feel. But Jerry Neuheisel, I've gone back and forth on this. He is either the greatest coach of all time, or Deshaun Foster may have been the worst coach of all time. I don't know which one it is.
Well, he's not even the interim head coach, right?
I know.
He's just calling plays out there.
Get some love.
The damage this man has done. This man has done in just a couple weeks of this. But to Blaine's point, it's such an interesting dynamic now. Because if you're Kurt Signetti, why?
Yeah.
Why? I again, we can talk about money in this.
Yeah, for Kurt Signetti, it's funny because like if Indiana has the investment, one of the top ops in the conference to kind of stop you from being in the upper echelon just went down. Like they just got nuked. And so like you staying put and just strengthening Indiana while Penn State is down might end up causing the switch, the flip permanently, not just 1 year, but permanently into tier 1.
Or the other, and I understand that. But you right now, they're already going to build a statue of you at Indiana. You're 17-2 in your first 2.
This isn't the argument. The argument isn't about Indiana and the pressure. The argument is about replacing Penn State on the hierarchy, like what's easier to obtain, like turning around Penn State that has some deep-rooted issues or continuing to elevate. It's like this. Kirby Smart wouldn't leave Georgia for Bama, even though Bama was the better program over the course of years because Georgia had more success than Bama those final couple of years. And then additionally, with Bama going down, you've got a shot to be the top dog in your conference. This is like that to a lesser degree, I think. So the argument shouldn't be about Indiana's statute building expectation. It's not that. Because if it was that, Sig would just move on to Penn State. The argument's about, okay, now this program, this university is going to take a step backwards. I feel like I can replace them in the hierarchy in that upper tier. That's the conversation that Sig is having with Indiana right now. Like, make sure I have the amount of resources I have to fill that hole before somebody else does, or before Penn State can turn it around quickly. That's the conversation.
2 years or something like that with a college football playoff appearance, you can make an argument they should be the number 1 ranked team in the country. Why would I want those problems? I'm good. I can come home. My wife and kids love me. She's a great cook. We live in a great house. It's a great situation. I work. The mailman loves me.
Horrible argument, and I don't think these 3 guys could name 5 players that play for Indiana.
Right? I go to the grocery store and people are saying, thank you, Coach Signetti, for making us, a football school now. Why would I want those problems?
Yeah, and look, if he is interested in leaving, let Michigan get on that for a second and make a compelling offer. Every school right now wants to be the school that Kirk Signetti leaves for and says yes to. But honestly, the guy said he wants to be at Indiana. He said he wants to be faithful to Indiana. We'll see. He's going to be put to the test because you just went out on the road and beat Oregon. You're going to have a lot of suitors, okay? Everybody wants to be the school that John Gruden comes back to and says yes to and coaches at. But I think the ultimate thing for James Franklin here was twofold. One, the expectations entering this season, right? This was supposed to be the year that they have the roster to be able to compete with anyone in the country and win. And then 2, the thing was, well, James Franklin hasn't beaten the top tier opponents, but he always beats who he's supposed to. Yeah. And then your back-to-back losses against UCLA and Northwestern.
That's not bad. I don't think this is a very good podcast.
Welcome to the Solid Verbal. And now, Dan and Ty.
Good afternoon, Dan Rubenstein.
This is it. Both have mics. Both have nice cameras. Production layout looks really good. It's very unique. It's them. This is it. This is good. 26,000 subscribers. Good. Love it. If you're a small college football podcast, strive for something that makes me feel something the way this made me feel something. That's it. That's a dub.
I feel like I just talked to you. Did I not?
We did just speak, yes, and it was a joy, despite some of the opinions we had to espouse about.
The close-up shot is really good. The Solid Verbal podcast. I love good production quality podcasts. Good.
About the Penn State Northwestern game and the Oregon Indiana game, but I had a blast.
Well, on the heels of that, and on the heels of Penn State's 3rd straight loss, remember they lost to your Oregon Ducks. Then they lost a stunner on the road to UCLA. They came back home. They lost 22-21 to Northwestern. Obviously, we talked about it. The college football world is talking about what does Penn State do next. As I said, did not seem as if it was a tenable situation. It was a matter of when, not if. I was trying to put people on alert, though I myself did not know when this move was going to go down. Shortly a bit ago, I should say.
You didn't think it was going to happen today.
Did not think it was going to happen. I just got done telling you I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly. No sooner I said that, sure enough, Pat Kraft makes it official. They are going to pay the exorbitant buyout, around $50 million, something in that neighborhood, to get rid of James Franklin. He is now gone. Effective immediately, Terry Smith, the cornerbacks coach, is going to be the interim for Penn State. This obviously is going to kick off a fairly high-profile search, though there are a couple other openings out there. This clearly is the highest profile, at least at time of recording. So
yes,
on today's mini stream, Emergy Pod, whatever we want to call this, perhaps we can reflect a little bit on what this means, what got us to this point, some of the names that have emerged in the early going here. Obviously, we're only about to be in week 8, so there is a long way to go before I think we have some clarity on where this thing is going to head next, Dan Rubenstein. But I was surprised, to say the least, that it went down.
Take off your host hat. Take off your host hat. Give me Penn State tie. Unpack everything. Unpack your emotions. Unpack your thoughts.
Oh, this is great. So one of them's a Penn State fan and the other one's an Oregon fan. I love this. This is a sub. Boom, bop, bam. Good. And like the video.
Back the James Franklin era without any of the benefit of being able to sit with it for any amount of time. Although I imagine Penn State people have begun sitting with it, a few weeks ago when things seem to be rolling in the wrong direction. How do you unpack this from your spleen, from your gallbladder? What do you feel?
I think Franklin deserves a lot of credit for stepping in when he did. It is easy now to look at what has gone on over the last couple weeks and say that he was falling short of expectations, but it's harder to take the longer view and look at what he's done over the last 12 years. And this was a program that was in a much, much different place when he took over initially 12 years ago. So he has done an immaculate job just on that level, building the program up, getting it to the point where now we're talking about Penn State as a playoff team, where the expectation is a playoff team, a national championship contender, a conference contender. Yes. That is not easy to do. So I give him a lot of credit for that, and I think he deserves respect for what he did.
It's funny. He told him to, like, give me the raw and honest, without the podcast host, like put the host cap to the side. And he started to, but he's still being a little hosty. Yeah, we want to sit back a little bit.
Build at Penn State. Surely whoever comes in next is going to be standing on his shoulders, right? And what he's built, clearly they're going to be rebooting on some level. They're going to lose recruits. They've already started losing recruits. I talked about that last night. But
right, there was a big 2027 receiver who I think and was relatively local, who was one of the top 10, 12 receivers in that class who decommitted recently. That was a big one. Continue.
Yeah, and a running back who has since wavered, also from PA, come on spell. So look, it's going to go through the normal cycle now, the normal ebb and flow of nobody knowing who the new name is going to be, nobody wanting to sign on for anything because they don't know what they're getting themselves into. That we just know that this is like the new world order, especially in the era of NIL and transfer portal and whatnot. So
yes,
I think James Franklin definitely deserves a lot of credit for what he built at Penn State. But there is no denying the fact that what we saw, and even though they went pretty far last year, there is no denying that what we've seen over the last couple of years has left fans wanting.
Right.
And there was definitely a conversation about offense. Remember, they go out to get Andy Kotelnicki from Kansas. That was a big hire. It never quite felt like, even with Kotelnicki coming in with the track record that he had, it never quite felt like we got the full pyrotechnic display that we had hoped.
Right.
The common denominator was James Franklin. The receiver position continually felt like it was coming up well short of expectations for.
Now, if Kotelnicki ends up, really putting together a really outrageous offense, and honestly, it's funny when Landon Tengwall made that comment about he would preach to Drew about like not messing up. That doesn't really fit what I've heard Andy Kotelnicki's coaching style is. And I'm curious if Andy Kotelnicki now coaching for their jobs, coaching for their next job, if he decides to open it up, if it looks really good, do you sit back and think, damn, like James really messed this up? And that's going to run the risk, whether it's true or not. The optics of it could be if Andy decides, okay, like I'm coaching for my job, coaching for my next job, I have to fix my name. My shot to fix my name is to show people that this was a mess, not because of me, but because James Franklin wasn't letting me call my offense. And if you unleash it and it looks good, it's like that would make James Franklin look even worse.
For a team that's supposed to be a playoff contender, supposed to be a conference contender. There was an issue there.
Let's be clear. Not supposed to be. Was in the top 4, 10 months ago? Was in the college football playoff semi.
Was in the top 4, I think 15 days ago.
Final without big time contributions. Now, I'm not saying the receivers weren't big time because some of them have gone on to some success, but despite that receiver room and its production, they were able to utilize defense and running. And look, the path wasn't the hardest to the college football playoff semifinal, but you can only beat who's in front of you. And it seemed like Penn State, and this is what from the outside, Penn State fans have been clamoring for. It's not that they need to win national championships or play for national championships every season, but there was this perceived ceiling that you're like, what is the growth looking like, right? Where is the win against a national title caliber Michigan or Ohio State or Oregon or, in this year's case, Indiana is looking like one of the nationally elite within the Big Ten. Where do we go from, yes, we're 10-2. Yes, that's great. Yes, he is hitting the sort of zone of where Penn Staters feel like they should be, but it's, the improv rule. Yes, and yes, we are good enough to get to here. Yes, we are good enough to hire these assistants who have gone on to success elsewhere. Yes, Abdul Carter, Micah Parsons, Saquon Barkley, Hans Gesicki, who we mentioned briefly last night, right? That there's these folk hero type players that James Franklin and his staff were able to bring in and develop. The best of Joe Moorhead and the 2016 season.
Shout out Joe.
10 years ago was when they last won the Big Ten with that incredible comeback against Wisconsin. Talk to me about the growth, which I think is a totally fair question from Penn State people, right?
Absolutely. And especially with some of the moves they have since made. Okay, and this is where it starts to get, I think, a little bit murky. We can talk specifics about aspects of the team that the fan base felt should be better, that the fan base was hoping would get to a next gear. That was never really a question on defense. It was almost always centered around what they could do on offense. Drew Allar was sort of like the prince that was promised who was going to step in, the 5-star quarterback. He was James.
I mean, how many princes were promised, right? Like, it felt like there was a prince promised every, like, 2 years. And unfortunately, like, it made its way here, and it's like, damn, like,
Franklin's guy,
Yeah,
right? There were
definitely.
all of these.
The thing about the Drew and, like, how he was mishandled, they were never going to be able to land an elite quarterback ever again. They were never going to be able to do it after what Drew put on tape this year. Like, never. It wasn't happening.
Things that pointed to this season being the season. And then on top of it, they go out and they hire Jim Knowles to come in and replace Tom Allen on the defensive side of the football. There was just a lot of steam on what this season could be. But to your point, I think, and I mentioned this time and again, though everybody, and myself included, had Penn State penciled in as a playoff team and potentially a semifinal team, a national championship team, I guess it depends who you talk to. This season began with the expectations that given the roster, they would beat one of two teams. They would beat Oregon at home in that whiteout, or they would beat Ohio State on the road in Columbus, which is, I think, a foregone conclusion at this point. That's probably not going to happen. But it was one of those two games. One of those two games would have been.
I do like how, like, small independent media is all acknowledging, like, Ohio State is, like, by far and away the best team in the sport, but the big national media won't do it yet. I found it entertaining, and honestly, it makes me like these guys even more.
Very symbolic, improving that Penn State, that James Franklin was able to get over the proverbial hump.
Right.
They did not do it against Oregon, and there was an open question about how is Penn State going to respond now. I think the answer to that question is complicated. A, Penn State probably not as good as we thought,
Right.
but still played a really good team in Oregon, still came back into that game despite being down 17-3 late, got into OT, was a play or two away maybe from a different outcome. That clearly sucked the wind out of Penn State. They go to UCLA, they lose. They come back home, they lose. It was almost as if they had the same idea for what the season could have been, in that you need to beat Oregon. If you don't beat Oregon, with everything stacked in your favor, with having an incredible crowd, you and I were there at the whiteout.
Off a bye week.
Off a bye week, if you cannot get over the hump, then when?
Look, a lot of teams lose a big game off a bye week at home against a high-quality Big Ten team. Ty, a lot of
this is not an Oregon
programs. Ty, it's always you got to go a little bit beneath the surface. The subtext is always Oregon.
He's talking about it from the Oregon standpoint.
So if not now, when?
Yeah,
that is where I think we came down as Penn Staters, given recent experience here with this team.
Yeah,
and you know I feel bad that it went down this way for Franklin. As I said before, I came to really like the guy.
Yeah,
I think what he built at Penn State is worthy of a lot of respect.
Yep.
And I am sad that it kind of went down in the manner that it did. I also kind of give Pat Kraft a lot of credit, the AD, because we often see it in college.
Pat Kraft, if he has someone in his back pocket, this will end up being an all-time gangster move. Now, I don't know if they have someone in their back pocket. I like Signetti scares me, but I don't think Signetti's going to go there. I don't think Urban's going to go there. Like, I don't think a lot of these teams are going to go there. But even a Matt Campbell, I think, is a great back pocket play, unless you feel like it's too close to the James Franklin route. But go sub to that show. I'm going to probably put the links to all these shows in the description, and I'll be reacting to things kind of as we go and trying to cover this Penn State thing pretty closely. I didn't realize I went an hour. I intended on this video only to be 30 minutes long. But if you're here and you rock with me, thank you. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you guys soon.